Clock by my clock, so I will open our meeting and advise everyone that we are recording this meeting and we are live streaming to the community via the City of Hobart YouTube channel. I ask that all persons attending the meeting are respectful of and considerate towards others attending the meeting, and I will call out any language or conduct at the meeting that could be perceived as offensive, defamatory or threatening to a person attending the meeting or listening to the recording. And for the purposes of the recording, elected members should wait until I announce them before speaking, and ask that mobiles be turned to silent or switched off. So we have a full house. All elected members are present. I will start with an acknowledgement to country, just in recognition of the deep history and culture of this place known as Nipaluna, Hobart. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians who were the Muwinina people who lived and thrived here for hundreds of generations. And I'd like to also acknowledge the contemporary Palawa community of Tasmania and recognise their leadership and work in maintaining and promoting Aboriginal culture and rights. So, item 2 is the confirmation of the minutes from our 15th of December meeting. Would someone like to move those? Deputy moved, seconded by Councillor Dutta. All those, any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Transfer of agenda items is item 3. Are there any proposed items for transfer?
Look, I understand there's people in the room with an interest in
18.
Where is it? Sorry, I'm just letting up the. No, it wasn't actually 18. It was the 19. So I'm wondering if we could. I mean, I'm happy to move 18 if there's people in the room as well. If we could move that up to the start of the agenda. 18 and 19 for the benefit of those in the room.
So we can. Is there a seconder for that motion? Councillor Elliott. Any discussion on moving 2 motions forward to the front of the meeting?
I had a
Councillor.
question, Lord Mayor. I'm just wondering who is in fact interested in item number 19. Often it's a community group that's sort of very aligned with these things, but who exactly is
Councillor
it?
Coates.
Look, my understanding is quite a few people are actually tuning in to watch this today, and so rather than having them sort of have to wait for a random point in time, depending on when it hits the schedule, it's just sort of good to have those coming out of the way, and people obviously aware that the time of commencement for our council meeting. So, and I cannot speak to 18, but I was advised earlier by my colleague that there are people with an interest in that as well.
Okay. Any further discussion before I put that procedural motion? Councillor Dutta.
Just a question. Do we know how many people? Is it 200 or 250 or 50?
19.
Oh, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Watching them, watching us.
All right. Okay.
All right. I'll put that to move those agenda items forward. All those in favour say aye. Against say no. No. Show of hands. All those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Louise Elliott, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Passelt, Alderman Bloomfield, Alderman Kelly, Councillor Harvey, and Deputy Lord Mayor.
And against?
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, and the Lord Mayor.
Okay,
That's carried, Lord Mayor.
that's carried. So we will move that to. That'll be in front of Aquatic Centre fees. I don't have any communications from the Chair. Item 5 is notification of council workshops. So there was one on the 19th of January. That was around Augusta Road, Elizabeth Street. Transport. Planning project, 12-month review of the Argyle Campbell Street bike lanes, stormwater and waterways briefing, and future state of Hobart car parking. Item 6 is public question time. Any questions? Mr. Edwards, would you like to come
All right.
forward?
Lord Mayor, is it true that you are supporting an investigation into moving the farmers market from Bathurst Street to Collins Street? And if so, and I know council staff have raised the matter with at least 2 retailers in Collins Street, does this imply your lack of support for the bicycle lane program that you supported when you voted against your own motion to restrict the professional advice you sought at the time?
Mr. Edwards, I don't quite understand your question, so what I'll do is if you can email it to the officers, I'll take that on notice and provide a written response.
Or maybe you could answer the first part of my question. Are you supporting an investigation into moving the market to Collins Street?
Yeah, I'll take it on notice, Mr. Edwards, thank you.
You can't say yes or no.
I beg your pardon?
You're
I said I would
not
take
saying
it on
yes or
notice.
no.
Pardon?
I'm saying you can't say yes or no to that question.
I said I'd take it on notice. I'd like to do that, which is my right under the meeting procedures. Thanks,
Okay.
Mr. Edwards. Any further
Well, at
questions?
least it's a public question on notice too.
Any other questions, public questions? There being none, we will now move to 6.2, which is responses to public questions taken on notice. There's just the one. So would someone like to move that? Councillor Posselt, seconded by Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 7 is consideration of supplementary items. There are none. Item 8 is indications of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. Would anyone like to indicate an interest? Councillor Elliott.
Item 16.
Item 16 for Councillor Elliott. Any others, Deputy Lord Mayor? 19, which will now be before the next item. I'll just see if there's any petitions.
No.
There's none. Okay, we'll move on to 19. Thanks, Deputy Lord Mayor.
18 first. Sorry, Lord Mayor, 18 first because it comes first in, the...
Oh, sorry, Deputy. So, 18, yeah, sorry, I hadn't got to that part of the agenda. 18 is transforming Collins Street from Councillor Elliott.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll move the motion as listed on the agenda, please.
Seconded by Councillor Zuko, Alderman Zuko.
Thank you. So we've had the changes to transforming Collins Street in for a few months now, and already there are issues which are clearly not transient issues, and they're issues that are here to stay. My understanding is that Collins Street is a trial, and I'm hoping it's a genuine trial, and we had the words tactical trial used a lot in relation to these changes. So in the spirit of this being a tactical trial, I've brought forward this motion because I'm sure I know that everyone monitors my social media quite actively, so they would have seen the videos I've been putting up over the course of weeks showing the difficulties with the turning circle in the Collins Street and Harrington Street area. So the motion asks the staff to take a look with urgency at addressing that turning space issue, especially for the buses, because I think the final straw was when I saw the video where a bus was really struggling to turn, and it ended up having pedestrians leaving their seat on the on-road dining space and having to stand and guide buses around the corner. I do note that the stopping line on Collins Street has been brought back about 50 centimetres, which is actually making the road look a bit like a grade 5's homework where you're rubbing out and trying to get the answer right. But I don't think that is an appropriate response, because where the on-road dining is, it used to be a yellow line across 2 shop fronts. And that was clearly there for a reason, and we can see in video after video why that was a valid reason. The second point is asking the officers to urgently look at the no standing or the no parking zone that's been removed from outside the cinema. It's now replaced 24 hours a day, 365 days a year with a separated bike lane, which has meant that people are unable to drop kids off outside, young kids especially, and older people, outside the cinema. And obviously in that complex as well, there's the Intensity where a lot of birthday parties happen. There's Zone 3 upstairs where birthday parties happen. And I received an email late last week from a lady that was unable to take her 85 or 95-year-old mother to the cinema because the stopping area has been removed. So there's a drop point across the road outside the ATO building. There's no drop point now outside the cinema. And that is for a council that apparently cares about accessibility, and we'll talk later about disability actions. This is something that is restricting the community's access to enjoyment. Young kids need to be dropped off at the door. As a mother of young kids, you need to drop them at the door. You don't drop them at the end of the block and hope that they find their way safely up to the street. So that's an issue that would have been prevented with the Clearway model that myself and other councillors were putting forward, would have largely been prevented. But instead we have businesses being hurt with their trade, and I have spoken to all of these businesses, as well as individual stories of the young and the old and people with mobility issues unable to access the recreation that they were able to previously because of Collins Street's transformation. The other thing is, and I even had Santa complaining to me about this one, and I'm not joking. Went and saw Santa at Centrepoint, and he said, he recognised me and know who I am, and he said, people are just talking about this car park. Centrepoint, people are backed up into the car park. Some are waiting there for up to 80 minutes, posting videos, sending me videos where they had not even left the car park. And this council apparently cares about climate change, and we have clogged the Centrepoint car park when we reduced the 2 lanes of exiting down to 1. And back at the time when this was first on paper and wasn't a reality, I said that is going to clog up Centrepoint good and proper. Sure enough, proven right again. So these are, yes, they were all foreseeable, and yes, we warned, but in the spirit of this being a trial, then I think this feedback needs action. I don't think that the 50 centimetre the rubbing out in Collins Street is sufficient. The yellow line outside the shops on the odd row dining was there for a reason. And I just have a question, please, through you, Chair, for the CEO. Is the Collins Street changes, it still is a trial?
Yes, it's a trial.
And is it a genuine trial, or is it a trial just for political reasons?
Sorry, Councillor Elliott, that's quite, there's an imputation in that.
Okay. Well, no problem, that's no problem. I do have concerns about the genuineness of this trial, because the word trial came along quite late in the piece. And also I watched a webinar a few weeks ago with a staff member, and I'll just quote something that a staff member of our council said during this webinar, and it's in relation to the changes on Collins Street. They said, I suppose a big piece for us was that the political arrangements required that we would do this as a trial. It was called a trial for political reasons. It's not a genuine trial. We knew that from the start, and now we have it straight from a horse's mouth, that it is a trial for politics. It's not a trial for trying to get the right result for the community.
Okay, further discussion. Councillor Kitsos.
Thank you, Lord Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Elliott, for bringing these issues with Collins Street to the attention of the council today. Look, I think that this is a genuine trial. This is not a political trial. This is a big change that we've made to Collins Street that we know all the benefits of. We've talked about that on and on and on in this chamber. We know that we want streets that are more friendly for bicycles, more friendly for pedestrians, more friendly for people in general, rather than prioritising cars. It is a genuine trial. I have no doubt of that in my mind. I think there are a number of issues with Collins Street that this council needs to look at. It's a complex piece of infrastructure, and because it is a tactical trial, we actually have lots of capacity to make changes to improve things. So there were numerous things in the design process that we were all aware of, that there wasn't just one answer to how to change Collins Street. There are multiple answers. So I think to take this motion seriously today, and to give it the time that it deserves, that this motion should be deferred to workshops so that we can all raise our issues that we've had with the Collins Street trial, so that we can put forward both the positives, the negatives, and make suggestions as to what may need to change over the course of this trial to ensure, in my mind, that it becomes a success and that the trial does actually become a permanent feature of our beautiful city. So with that intent, I'd like to move the motion that we move this item to workshop.
Seconded by Councillor Harvey. So that's a procedural motion. So what sort of workshop? Does anyone need any information about the workshop or just?
I'm assuming that's the workshop committee, so we would.
Yes, that's correct. To send it to the workshop committee so that we can have a broader discussion around these issues and vote in committee.
Okay. So that's procedural motion. Yes.
Are you sure it's actually a procedural motion, not a motion?
A deferral to a committee. So all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Basalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor and Lord Mayor.
And against?
Councillor Alderman Zuko, Councillor Coates, it's your hand up, thank you. Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, that's carried, Lord Mayor.
Okay, so thank you. That motion will be discussed at a workshop coming up. Now we're going to move on to 19. Deputy Lord Mayor has declared an interest. I'll just wait for her to leave on that.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I've got a question. I didn't realise it was both items that were being brought forward.
Before this, can I ask a question in regards to declaring an interest? The deputy's declared an interest. Is she going into the alderman's room or is she staying in that area there where all the IT is? Just asking the question. I understand that. I understand, Lord Mayor, but there's a process where we've always gone to the alderman's room.
I just heard her into the room.
All right. So this is a motion from Councillor Elliott, Alderman Zuko, Councillor Kelly and Councillor Coates. It's moved by Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll just move the motion.
Seconded by Alderman Zuko.
Actually, I also have just realised, I've sent through an updated version of the motion with a third section added, and apologies for not sending it to the elected members, but I wasn't sure if it was going to be moved to the front of the agenda or not. We're just bringing that up. So part 3 is an addition in red there, and I'll just press send on this so people have that. Okay, thank you. So firstly, I'll move the motion as listed on the screen and provided to elected members in email coming through shortly. Seconder? Oh, second. Thank you. So just briefly to touch on the third part, it's self-explanatory. It's basically that we remove all alcohol from across the organisation with the exclusion of alcohol related to council receptions and events, and that their policies be updated as appropriate. So there's 3 parts to this motion now. The first is about an independent assessment, independent investigation. The second is about writing... Are you okay?
Yeah, we're fine.
I was just clarifying, sorry, whether you're moving or speaking. That was.
Am I right?
You're right.
Okay, sorry. First part, independent investigation. Second part is the council writing a letter to Councillor Sherlock, and in this third new section is the removal of alcohol. This motion's come about because we, as a council, obviously have governance responsibilities, and myself and others have had multiple whistleblowers approach us about potentially serious misconduct by an elected member and potentially a second elected member. And we have an obligation to take action. I can't just turn a blind eye or say nothing to see here. I have to do something with that information. I'm under a legal and moral obligation to do so, as are the other elected members that have worked on this motion with me. This motion also wasn't our first course of action. Alderman Zuko had discussions with the CEO from December, and we've been trying to get access to information to actually get straight what actually has happened here. And unfortunately, information is proving hard to get, but I am confident that it will come out in the end. So I just wanted to put on the table that this isn't our first port of call, is to bring this. Importantly, so we all know, there's some things that we all know because they're in the public domain. Back in 2024, an acting CEO, we have the email, spoke to Councillor Sherlock about her removal of products from the elected member lounge. So that turns from an allegation of this isn't about removing M&Ms or chips or things like that, or taking leftover sandwiches. The allegations that we've heard about are much more substantial, and they are allegations. I will put the disclaimer on that. But what we have heard is that significant amounts of alcohol have gone missing, whereas a cupboard was filled on a Friday, came in on a Monday, and the cupboards are bare. That is quite serious. And at the time, it turns out that this was handled by the acting CEO. And
Lord Mayor, point of order.
It's your point of order.
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to procedural motion this on the grounds that we have no parliamentary privilege and there is significant legal risks associated with this discussion, risks to the council and individuals around this table tonight. We have the information we need to make a decision. It does not need to be debated, and it is risky to do so without parliamentary privilege and appropriate legal advice, and therefore I move that the motion be put.
I'm still speaking, so he can't just do that. It's not a point of order. I'm still speaking.
It's a procedural motion, and I am advised that a procedural motion can be put at any time when someone's speaking or not. However, for the purposes, because you have started speaking, I will let you finish, and then I will accept the procedural motion.
Point of order, Lord Mayor.
No, it doesn't work like that.
Order.
I'm still baffled as to what the
No, that's not a point of order, Alderman Zuko. Being baffled is not a point of order. Sit down, please.
Where's the point of order? Can someone explain the point of order, please?
I will continue, but I disagree with that interpretation of the meeting regulations.
Sorry. Councillor Posselt, is yours a procedural motion or is it a point of order?
Procedural motion.
It's a procedural motion which my understanding of the regs can be taken above all other business.
I understand that, Councillor Posselt, but because Councillor Elliott has started, I am going to let her finish and then we will consider the procedural motion. Okay, continue, Councillor Elliott.
So just to clarify, Lord Mayor, you're reserving the procedural motion?
Well, to allow you to finish because you've started, yes. Even though I am advised that we could move it immediately.
I strongly believe that debate is being hamstrung here, which points even more to different things going on.
No, it's not being hamstrung. I'm following the regulations and the advice. Thank you, Councillor Elliott.
Okay. So there are allegations, there are serious allegations, and these need to be fleshed out. I'm not going to be able to ventilate those tonight. I wasn't intending to go through a lot of detail. What I was intending to do was I asked the acting Lord Mayor, acting CEO, sorry, at the time, an issue was identified that product had gone missing. And that then led to this looking of CCTV equipment, which identified Councillor Sherlock. That's a matter of public record. From that point forward, that turned into a potential misconduct issue. That was not about managing stock and things of the council. I, earlier this week, asked a question to the CEO.
Councillor Posselt.
Point of order, Lord Mayor. I move that this meeting be closed. I don't think that we can have imputations that a person is not here to defend.
You can close the meeting. You can.
Under procedural motions 21.E, I can move that the meeting be closed to the public.
I see. Move this item into the closed. I see.
I think we close the doors and we have the discussion and reopen it. But Lord Mayor, the intent is that it's not procedurally fair to have these matters ventilated in the way they're being ventilated when the individual who is subject can't defend herself.
Seconder for the motion to move this item into the closed. Is there a seconder? No seconder. All right. So that motion won't carry.
Oh, that does not look good.
Councillor Elliott.
Okay, thank you. So as I said, public information.
Elliott, before you go on, can I just remind you that, there have been concerns raised about defamation.
Of course, I'm well aware of defamation.
Imputations of wrongdoing can
Of
be
course,
defined as
absolutely.
that as
That's
well.
why I've said these are allegations.
Imputations can sometimes be
Of course, defamation could be implied, yes. I just want to clarify you through Chair about my time because significant time's been wasted.
No, we've stopped the clock every
I
time.
hope so.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, where was I? The acting CEO, it was identified by the organisation products going missing. The acting CEO, and then it was then established that it was Councillor Sherlock, who has admitted that. We have it in writing, it's public information. The question I asked to the officers earlier this week was, can you please advise which Policy Act regulations provide the GM, the CEO, with the authority to investigate and determine allegations of misconduct? I was then told by the CEO via Mr Reynolds that the Local Government Act under Section 62 provides that authority. That is categorically wrong. The CEO, the acting CEO at the time, had no authority to investigate that. Section 62 that I was pointed to deals with the General Manager's responsibilities for managing the day-to-day operations and affairs.
I just warn you that I might have to accept this procedural motion sooner if I'm concerned you're making allegations about staff, because we do also have an obligation under workplace health and safety to look after the workplace health and safety of our staff, and I'm just concerned you're getting into some allegations about staff as well.
I have concerns about the accuracy of the information I was given. Section 62 says that the GM is responsible for the day-to-day operations and affairs, enables the GM to manage the resources and assets of the council, and basically has an other clause, which means anything that they need to do in order to do that. But when it was identified that it was Councillor Sherlock removing product, that immediately switched, not from a stock management point of view, not from a day-to-day operations point of view, but to a potential misconduct issue. And only today, I thankfully had the Director of Local Government confirm in writing for me that the General Manager has no responsibility, no authority to investigate or determine allegations of potential misconduct by an elected member. Extension of 3 minutes, please.
That's moved by Alderman Zuko, seconded by Councillor Elliott. All those in favour? Bloomfield? Oh, sorry, Alderman Bloomfield. All those in favour of the extension of 3 minutes say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. I'll probably say no.
Okay.
All those in favour?
The extensions do? Yep.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Coates, or Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly. Arm up. Yes, thank you. And, yeah, thank you.
I think that's carried.
Oh, you need to do the against, Lord Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Against. All those against of the extra 3 minutes.
Councillor Passelt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, and the Lord Mayor. Sorry, Councillor Data, can I just confirm your vote, please?
Abstaining.
You abstained. That is a negative vote. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is carried, Lord Mayor.
Okay, 3 minutes, Councillor Elliott.
So the equivalent here is if I decided that I needed a digger to do some work on my property and I took that home, that would not be about heavy equipment management, it would be about my potential misconduct. If I used a council computer to send threatening messages or do something illegal, that would not be about IT management, it would be about my potential misconduct. So I submit that the acting CEO at the time had no authority to investigate and determine potential misconduct, and that's what this is. I also note in the admin response that the CEO has taken select portions from the legal advice that the council's received, and I've asked for that confidentiality on the whole advice to be lifted, but that was refused, unfortunately. I do believe that legal privilege has been waived by the selective quoting anyway. Full and proper debate demands that the entirety of the advice should be open, and I do have questions. For example, what was the lawyer actually told? What facts were they given? What comments did they make in relation to any potential need for a full and proper forensic investigation? Was the lawyer asked to consider what authority the acting CEO had at the time? I don't know. There's also been advised in the media that the policy has changed as a result of this misunderstanding from a person that apparently has a legal background and a linguistics background. But that policy, this occurred in January 2024. Why did it take 20 months for a policy to change? I also have questions outstanding in the CEO's office where I've said, we voted in a workshop on the new elected member behaviour and support policy. The changes were summarised, but this change was not mentioned. Why was that not mentioned? Because it feels like a bit of nothing to see here going on. This matter won't go away. The truth will come out. Everyone knows how persistent I am. The RTI is in for this. A Section 28 request is in for this. It will come out. This is an Integrity Commission matter, and I encourage anyone who believes in integrity and takes whistleblowing seriously. And because the facts of the matter is, if someone has done nothing wrong, then that's exactly what the independent investigation will show. If you were innocent and there's nothing to hide, you would support an investigation. And really critically, this acting CEO had no authority to do what they did. It was flawed from day zero. We need to take this back to day zero and do the process properly. These are integrity matters, and we will not be giving up on this. And I think there might be a lot of regret for people that vote against an independent investigation, because that's a right and proper thing to do.
Just before the motion be put, Lord Mayor, could I just ask a question, if I may, please?
No, sorry, you can't.
Okay, I'll ask it after. It's okay.
So I don't yet have is there a seconder for Councillor Possel's motion, procedural motion? Seconder, Councillor Lohberger. So that's procedural motion that we actually put the motion now. So but this isn't the actual vote on the actual motion. This is that we put the motion now. So all those in favour say aye. Against say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Harvey, and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so that's the procedural motion.
Could I ask a question now, Lord Mayor, if I may?
That's carried 6-5, Lord Mayor.
Oh, thank you.
No,
I'm not sure that I can do questions.
It's okay, I'll ask it later, don't worry.
There's questions later, Alderman.
Yeah,
There's
there's
a
no
whole
problem.
section on it.
Yeah, there's no problem.
Not a question of procedure, but I was wondering if we could take the vote separately. I was going to ask you my contribution. So there's 3 items, one of which was added in very late. I'm wondering if we could take the vote, if it's okay with the mover of the motion.
Yep.
So we will. Sorry, I just need to pass. Yeah, no, sorry. The advice is that we've just got to put it as a block, I'm afraid. So that could be something that, again, gets discussed at a separate meeting maybe. Or okay, so we'll move it as a block motion. All those in favour say aye. Against say no. Show of hands. All those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly.
And against.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Councillor Harvey, and the Lord Mayor.
Okay,
That's lost, Lord Mayor.
So that is lost. Okay, we will move now back onto the beginning of the agenda, which is item 10. If we could get alert Deputy Lord Mayor to come in. This is an item on the Doon Kennedy Hobart Aquatic Centre, new fees and charges 25-26. There's a recommendation here on the proposed fees and charges for parking at the Aquatic Centre. Would someone like to move that? Moved by Councillor Dutta, seconded by Councillor Posselt. Discussion, Councillor Kitsos.
I just wanted to say how pleased I was to see this in the agenda for this afternoon's meeting. I think this is something that is really needed at this facility. It's one of our most used facilities. It's a most loved facility. It's loved for school holidays, it's loved for families, it's loved for older people who want to exercise, and of course our all access classes as well that are wonderful in the gym and in the other facilities that we offer in the pools as well. It's just such an important service. And there have been numerous complaints, as we well know, and is reported here about the parking recently since the boom gates were removed. And although I looked into it, it was very difficult to actually put any restrictions on that without a technological solution. One of the main issues is that it's quite close to the nursing campus of UTAS, it's quite close to the city, and people saw it as a free opportunity to park their car with no restrictions for what my understanding was up to 3 hours. So I think that this is a really reasonable and welcome change. It's really nice to see some modern update technology with the licence plate recognition going into this facility, and I think that we're going to have happier members and happier users because of it. I also note that the fee structure is very reasonable, that members get 3 hours free parking and non-members 2 hours parking, which you could reasonably suggest would meet the requirements of both of the users of those facilities. So I don't think it's at detriment to our users of the pool and the gym area, but I think it will stop people from parking there all day to use the car park for other reasons. So I'm really pleased to see that in the agenda today. Thank you.
Yes, Lord Mayor, through you, if someone can answer this question for me. Look, if I had a family member that was associated with the Aquatic Centre, would that be, could that be considered to be a potential perceived conflict of interest or a pecuniary interest? Could someone answer that for me, please? Well, if I had a family member that either worked there or associated with the Aquatic Centre, would I have a potential conflict of interest, and would I be obligated to declare a conflict of interest if I did have someone if I had a close family associate at the Aquatic Centre? Well, could be anyone.
Potentially, depending on the circumstances, but potentially is the best answer I can give at the moment.
Potentially, thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll put that all those in favour. Oh, Councillor Elliott.
Yes, Lord Mayor. I just wanted to understand, looking at the report, what I could see is that the only real tangible difference between members and non-member parking was an extra free hour for members. Am I summarising that correctly, please?
Mr. Arthur.
Through you, Lord Mayor, members get 3 hours free and casual parkers get 2 hours free. That's correct.
And with the people who are not getting their ticket validated because they're not using the centre, am I right in reading the table in the report that they pay a fixed price of $60? Yes?
Through you, Lord Mayor, that's correct.
Okay, right. That's fine. I do have a little bit of a concern because I also read in the report how the average stay there for a family is just over 2 hours. And it is sitting on my conscience that I know the Aquatic Centre is really quite well used, especially with lower socio-economic families, and I worry about the impact on that. But I think on balance it will be okay. The other question I had listed here is, what sort of volume of overnight use do we have of the parking? If I was to go there at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. or 5 a.m, would I find a car? Is it used overnight, and what sort of volume?
Through you, Lord Mayor, I have to take that one on notice. I don't know the figures overnight stays, but I can find out.
I'm just thinking it through. Obviously it's quite close to the hospital and ambulance and whatever else, police. I'm just wondering if we're going to be indirectly punishing, in inverted commas, people that use that car park when they're not taking a car park away from a centre user because the centre is closed, and I would not want to do that. So I'm actually going to vote against these changes for that reason, because I'm worried about the unintended consequences on people using the car park overnight. From a safety point of view, it would be something that as a female and if I was working night shift, I would probably go there. So I would like a bit more of a look at it, but I won't hold up the agenda item. But for those reasons, I'll vote against.
Okay, Councillor Kitsos.
Question, please, Lord Mayor. I too am concerned about the impact on families if they accidentally outstay, by 20 minutes because they can't get their child out of the change rooms. It's unfortunate that they would be issued with a fine. I'm wondering whether there was any exploration of the overflow facility that we open during events or at peak times over on the regatta grounds, and whether that could remain accessible for people who choose to park in a free space and walk that extra distance to the facility.
Question, Mr. Artup.
Lord Mayor, we could take that on notice and look at those impacts if required. Just a point around the 2 and 3 hour opportunity for free parking. Beyond that, they can pay for another 2 hours, up to a maximum of 5 hours of patrons, whether they're members or casual. So and above that, above the 2 or 3 hours, it's $5.60 per hour, which is our average on-street parking rate in the rest of the city.
All right, all those... Oh, Councillor Posselt.
Yeah, sorry, Lord Mayor. Thank you. I'm just wondering about the rationale of the 2 versus 3 hour element. Why? Yeah, why do members use the facility for longer than casual parkers?
Mr. Artup.
Yep, through you, Lord Mayor. The idea is to reward members. So if you remember, you get a little bit of an additional benefit by getting 3 hours. But if you're a casual, it's a bit more expensive. So it's a little price signal to encourage people to transfer to memberships, which has health benefits as well.
Thank you. Follow-up question. So just to clarify on the penalty versus the additional fee, if a casual family overstays 2.5 hours in, is there a way to retrospectively say, we've overstayed, there's the $5.60, or have they overstayed and then it's a $60 fine because they didn't prospectively pay for it?
Through you, Lord Mayor, they only get a $60 fine if they stay more than 5 hours. So there's no fine. So 5 hours, a few families, casual members stay more than that. So they wouldn't cop a $60 fine unless they stayed more than 5 hours. And the casual family would get 2 hours free, and then they'd pay $5.60 for the third, fourth and fifth hours.
Thank you, that's very helpful.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I will put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Show of hands, all those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Alderman Councillor Dutta, Councillor Coates, Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Councillor Elliott, that's carried, Lord Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on to item 11, the Hobart A City for All Action Plan 26 to 29. There is a recommendation, would someone, or three-part recommendation moved by Alderman Harvey, seconded by Councillor Kitsos. Any discussion? Alderman Bloomfield.
I was quite pleased to read this report, and I quite like the fact that it's included so many different elements. In particular, I really had more of a question than a comment, and that was, as the chair of this Disability Access Group, there was a profound push towards a request for additional disability parking on this, I think it's the second level of the Argyle Street car park, which I would believe would come as part of this action plan, where that's where they have the overpass to the Royal, and they had very much passionately asked months ago, in fact I think it was one of the first requests I ever put through in that council committee meeting, to have additional disability parking put on that level. And to date nothing's occurred, and it would be great to have that incorporated in this, or to some degree, because it's one thing stating that we're going to do it, but it's been some years, and now they are really pushing hard to get this, that we would need to increase disability parking in Argyle on level 2. They were requesting around 6 disabled car parks to ensure that people who have real issue getting into the hospital can actually do so, and it's part of this type of plan. So I would just like to ask, can we please include that? Thank you.
Well, that could be an amendment if you wanted to move it, that the action plan include additional consideration of additional parking in Argyle, disability parking in Argyle Street. That sort of wording makes sense.
I'm happy with that, but it was particularly disabled parking on the level where directly where the access to the overpass is, so that we can be fair with the people who are really struggling to gain access.
I'll just see if the movers and seconders want to incorporate that into the motion. Is that so that the action plan be amended to include a consideration. Of the consideration of additional disability car spots on the level 2 of Argyle Street car park. Did you want to factor that in, or did you want to?
Well, no, I'll just speak to the whole thing. I'm pleased to see there's so much content in this. What are we talking about?
Were you the mover of the motion? Are you happy to
I'm happy to take that in.
take that in? Great. Yes. And the seconder is?
Yes, I'm happy to take that in.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Councillor.
Overall, very happy with the document, but I would like to put out one part of it, which we're talking again about tonight, and that's the piece about advocate for the development of an extreme weather protocol through the working group that includes representatives such as UTAS, SES, DPAC, DOH, Legat and community organisations. So that's a piece that we'll go over again, I think, later on. But that's an important component of what we do in Hobart. I'm pretty sure we've got things covered. Just to confirm, if there was an extreme heat event, like they're having on the mainland at the moment, where the temperature's in the 40s, what would our response be now? Since we've got this in the document, I imagine we've already got a prepared response if that did occur.
Ms. Parker or Mr. Artup?
Through you, Lord Mayor, there is some resources that have recently been produced to provide information to community about what to do in extreme heat. At the moment, we wouldn't be opening a venue up. It's not part of that, but it's definitely, we would be promoting it and putting it across our website and suggesting opportunities for people to keep cool.
And working with those partners that are...
Certainly, yes.
Yep, okay. I'm really satisfied with this. There's a lot of content here. There's a lot of monitoring. There's a lot of reporting back on. But I guess that's hugely important to work out whether or not what we're doing is being done and how successful it might be and what the numbers are. So I think the reporting back is really important going forward to see how many people we are communicating with, what sort of organisations we're working with. So I'm keen to see how this progresses and what the ongoing reporting is across the time frame here, well, for the next year or so at least while I'm here. But yeah, keen to see how this rolls out, and well done to the officers for producing such an important document for the City of Hobart.
Further discussion? Councillor Elliott?
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I've read through this strategy document, and unfortunately I was hoping to see some references to diversity of political belief, because that's obviously the elephant in the room here. There's no mention whatsoever of how important it is that we are a city for all, regardless of your political belief. There's silence on that. And this council has admitted to discrimination on the basis of political belief, so it's actually rather a quite confusing omission. That's something this own council has had to apologise for, discrimination on the basis of political belief. In a Hobart Respects All, or whatever this is called, the City for All motion, there's absolute silence on that. So is that an accidental oversight or a strategic oversight through you, Chair?
Or Ms. Parker?
Through you, Lord Mayor, the report makes no political commentary at all, or takes no position on political matters.
Yeah, absolutely, and it doesn't take any comment on political matters because it shouldn't. What I'm talking about is the protected attribute of political belief under the Anti-Discrimination Act 1998. We have other attributes in there: race, age, disability, LGBT, gender identity, sexuality, but there's crickets, silence on political belief, and that's also an attribute. So that's a glaring omission, and especially, I will say it again, the council's had to apologise for literally discriminating against someone for discrimination on political belief, and it's not in our own strategy. So I think that's pretty poor. Another comment I have is around the city's role. I think it's on page 5 here. It lists things like the role to advocate, collaborate, communicate, connect and deliver. Well, obviously the word comply is missing. The city's role is also to comply with the legislation, because the city has a history of not complying with the Anti-Discrimination Act. Another admission. That should be in there. I mean, come on, we've discriminated against people, been found out for it, had to a public apologise, and it's not in our own Hobart for All strategy. On page, I'm not sure what it is, but under priority areas, it lists truth and reconciliation. I brought this up when we were looking at the culture and country, the Aboriginal strategy, and I was told at the time that reconciliation isn't a thing anymore. We're not doing that it was viewed as inappropriate. So I'm wondering why truth and reconciliation is in this document. Question through you, Chair. Why is truth and reconciliation the heading here, but it's not in the Aboriginal strategy?
Ms Parker.
Through your Lord Mayor, so the priority areas as detailed were from the original overarching framework, the City of All, that was developed in 2020. At that time, the Aboriginal or the Palawa community was still encouraging the use of reconciliation. That has changed over the past 5 years. So those actions still complied because we have not changed that overarching framework. But for the City of All document, the action plan that we're looking at tonight, we're using the more reference of actual country culture people rather than reconciliation.
That doesn't really make sense to me from the perspective of we've approved moving away from reconciliation, but now we're going to approve reconciliation in a plan that governs the next 5 years in advance. It's like, it's just nonsensical and about face. The other thing I have is, I was wondering if we could just take it on feedback, is that when we develop these plans, if we could have budgets allocated to individual action items rather than the group bundled up total figure for the 50 or however many actions there are, because that would help us as elected members sort of think, oh, well, that's value for money, prioritise that. So if we can add a estimated budget column to all of these documents rather than having an overarching figure of $2 million or whatever it is. And throughout the document, there are a lot of images, and I recognise some people in there. And I just have some concerns because in my past experience with communications and marketing when I was with the health department, we had to move away from using photos of real people, real community members, real doctors, real nurses, because obviously on occasions doctors can do things and all of a sudden that expensive printout, you're in big trouble because there's some stuff's gone on. And I do need to express, because it is titled Hobart, a City for All, and I have brought up the issue of political communication. And unfortunately, one of the people in the images I have here has actually indirectly made death threats against me, and I don't think it is appropriate for them to be in the Hobart for All strategy. I'm not going to say what page because I don't want to do that. I will provide it to the officers. But I have some lyrics of a band here, and the song is called Louise. And the first line is, I effing hate you, you effing prick. Playing false martyr. And then the one part is, you'd be better off dead than living that sham you call a life. And that should not be. So I think we need to move away from images of real people and even real staff, use stock photos for this exact reason. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Can I just ask, I was just going to ask a question on the political issue with the Discrimination Commission. Is it, is the issue, is the attribute political activity rather than political belief? Isn't it that you can't be discriminated on the basis of political activity?
Through you, Lord Mayor, the document refers directly to the social inclusion policy, which is based on the Anti-Discrimination Act. So that's the overarching policy that sits across that.
I was hoping there might be an expert in the Discrimination Act in the room that could. I'll look it up later. I think it's activity rather than belief, but anyway. Okay, someone else was keen to speak on this. Councillor Kitsos.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, I think this is a wonderful body of work and something that really reflects all elements of Hobart society, which is exactly what we were trying to create, something that we can refer back to with the philosophies that we agree with. So I'd like to just read the first paragraph of the Social Inclusion Policy Statement, which says, in alignment with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the Council recognises the fundamental right of every individual to participate socially, culturally, economically, physically, spiritually and politically in society. So that is the first paragraph of this entire document, which to me shows that political freedom of speech has in fact been considered in this document. But although of course this is a very important issue and fundamental to democracy, that is not actually what this piece of work is about. This is about elements of inclusion within the Hobart municipality. I think it's a great body of work. I think we need it, and I think that it's going to drive the direction of many pieces of work moving forward in this council. So I think this is something that should be praised, and we should be excited to see on the ground and build into our work into the future. So thank you to the officers, to all the work that has gone into this important piece of work.
Further discussion, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I really appreciate it. I just wanted to say thank you very much to the staff for their outstanding work on this. Just a few things that I wanted to touch on was the positive ageing program and some of the actions that are contained there. And I also wanted to talk about especially the deliver and support activities, programs and resources that promote healthy eating, nutrition and age-appropriate diets, and deliver and support activities, programs and resources focused on exercise, fitness, health and wellbeing for older people. I also just wanted to touch on the community safety and crime prevention, which I think has been touched on a fair bit during our term here and the term before, especially around the actions from point 1, 2 and 3, and I really commend the staff for doing that. The LGBTI QA Plus action plan as well, the inclusion and equity training that we'd spoken about before, I think is really great too. And the final one that I really wanted to touch on, which I think is crucial, is the youth programs as well, and the plethora of activities that are going on there in terms of actions, continuing with Youth Arc, as well as opportunities for young people to get involved and engage regularly with young people as well. So thank you so much to the staff for their efforts on this, and I'll be supporting it. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Any further discussion? I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. No. Show of hands, all those in favour.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Posselt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Harvey, Deputy and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kelly. That's carried, Lord Mayor.
Move on now to item 12, the 2025 Children's Mayor Program Outcome Report. There's a recommendation to receive a note, moved by Councillor Posselt, seconded by Councillor Lohberger. Any discussion? There being no discussion. Oh, Councillor Harvey. No discussion. I'll put that. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 13 is the Risk and Audit Panel Annual Report to Council on the 2026 Work Plan, moved by Alderman Bloomfield, seconded by Councillor Harvey. Discussion, Alderman Bloomfield.
As the one of the members of this, I just really wanted to highlight that our council is very lucky to have such a robust risk and audit panel that does its job. There are a number of elements, as noted, in the supporting information of achievements, because it's one of those areas where we get to inspect sections of council and improve and identify. And things that we've been able to do, particularly when it comes to privacy and data management, has been profound. Also with addressing issues with our incredibly large asset base to ensure that all assets are being not just taken care of, but also that if they're able to be able to earn income, to do so appropriately, to make sure our lease arrangements are consistent. All of this work comes from this room. So I'm very impressed to be part of this particular committee, and I very much commend this report. Thank you.
Any further discussion? There being none, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 14 is the Local Government Electoral Bill 2025 and the Local Government Amendment Electoral Reforms Bill 2025, moved by Deputy Lord Mayor, seconded by Councillor Posselt.
Lord Mayor, we're going to take all these items separately because there are some items I can't support and some items I can. I think we've done it in the past where we've taken matters where we've put submissions in and we've taken them separately. So I'll move that we move it in each individual item separately.
Could we do it by omission, because there are pages and pages and pages of items. So maybe if you could flag which ones that you would like to speak, or would like vote separately from the recommendation, and then we can vote on those rather than going through all of them. But let's see if there's discussion first. Any discussion on the submission? Alderman Bloomfield.
I do have a few that I would either like more information on or I'm not comfortable supporting. And she's all over the place, just to be tricky. But one of them was where they talk about repealing an existing provision prohibiting the publication of a candidate's name or image without their consent. I would like to know a little bit more about that. Is this where they are tightening up and making it harder to do, or is it more going to be offering up a free-for-all? Personally, I would like to think that we would maintain the ability to control what is made about ourselves in local government elections, because it can be quite difficult as it is, and we hardly need to make it worse. That was one. So if you want to answer that question now, or...
Number?
It doesn't have a number other than part 15, and that's page 53.
My understanding, Alderman, is that is intending to tighten it up in terms of, rather than loosening it up in terms of what you've just said. Yeah.
Reads like they were taking it out, so okay, so that's going to be support. Good. Okay. The next one was on the next page, part 16, electoral expenditure. Because my understanding is that we were looking at about $17,000, $18,000 to run. This is now talking about $16,000, so it's gone down. Now, I don't have a problem per se with that, but in fairness, I have always felt that the mainstay of a good campaign would be to be able to do a single mailer at the very minimum. Australia Post in the last 4 years has increased their prices enormously. If this $16,000 reduction is actually going to mean that we effectively have profoundly less to spend, given that the cost of signage, the cost of postage and so forth have actually in fact gone up significantly. So I question that this is going to allow a fair system. So I would not be able to support that, because I actually felt that if it's going to be $10,000 per se, just do a mail out, you don't have a lot left to do anything else, and certainly not being able to get signs out. So that was the major issue I had with that one. There are probably others that others have, but they're the two that so I think I'm not supporting part 16, and I'm happy with the part 15 as per the explanation. Yeah.
16.1 is one that we might vote on. Are there any other comments or items that you'd particularly...
I'll come to them now.
Any further discussion?
Yeah, Lord Mayor, actually the first one on the agenda, I don't support that. We don't support it, but I don't support what's been proposed.
So that's number one?
Yeah, I've actually...
number two?
No, yeah, number two. I've been a long-term advocate of going down the path of the Darwin model. I think it's a very fair model, and we talk about working as a team, working in teamwork. We go down the path of having an election for deputy mayor. This is nothing new. I've been advocating this for years. Of a deputy mayor, there's the cost of that. There's the cost of paying the deputy mayor as well. And as far as I'm concerned, the manner in which Darwin do it, which it's shared across the period, actually brings in all elected members across the table to represent the city if required. I'm not going to move it again. I've tried this a couple of times in this council and lost it, and I'm not going to go down that path. I'm just letting people know I'm not voting for that. The there was a few others. I just got to look. I'll just flag them in questions, Lord Mayor. Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
So I have to go through each one?
No, we're going to, just when people identify one where they want to vote against the council position, and then I'll vote on those. Is there any other comment, Councillor Posselt, or identification of ones that you want to?
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Unfortunately, this document, the way it's written, I think Alderman Zuko is having similar problems to me potentially. It's quite difficult because each point is not actually identified separately. I might start and...
I mean, just if it's the first box of part 15, then call it 15.1. I think I'll get...
Yeah, sure.
15.2, 15.3, 15.4.
Yeah, I'll start and work backwards with what I've got written down here. So just part 6, one of the last sections, speaks to the threshold for an elector poll. Our submission says that we do not support increasing the elector poll. I know it's more detailed than that, but it says we do not support the recommendation in the review to increase the threshold to 20%. It then goes on to say in the commentary that we do support an increase to 10%, but we think 20% is too much. Personally, I think that the threshold is a joke as it is at the moment, and it's really damaging for elections to be run around niche issues that you only need 1,000 people, and that can control an entire election and determine the outcomes because 1,000 people want to make it a problem. The 20% threshold, it should be considered really serious. It's like a plebiscite or a referendum in our land. They're serious deals and they should be treated as such. And if you can get 20% of your electorate to sign up to a cause, then you know that it's a genuine issue in the community. I personally don't think 10% is high enough. So that one I think I'd like to take separately because I think that it is reasonable with 20%. On the electoral expenses that Alderman Bloomfield raised, I have the opposite view. I actually think that our figure is too high, and I'm not sure why the larger councils have been given more than 50% extra budget compared to the smaller councils. Why are we not the same level of government? Wouldn't, like, the rules for electoral expenditure for LegCo are the same no matter where you're running? Why is it split between Capital City, but then also Clarence and Launceston and Glenorchy? They have a different threshold to West Kentish. I don't really get it. So I would personally favour us all going to $10,000, and that levels the playing field out for everybody and means that money's not really, most people will hopefully be able to raise close to $10,000 if they have a following in the community. So I think, it takes the financial benefit out of it. So I would support that, and it might be something that we need to debate separately. Item 15, I'm not sure why we want to provide commentary on the ability to adjudicate the truth, which is what this proposes, that there's power.
Item 15, which one? 1, 2, 3 or 4?
Just scroll down to it, sorry.
Yep.
The first one? Thank you to my other elected members. Why we would not, the first one, why we would not want or provide commentary on the adjudication of the truth if somebody has made a clearly, like the TEC is only going to go after a councillor or a candidate that is outright lying. If there's shades of grey, that's kind of up to the institution to determine, just like TASPOL and the DPP make determinations all the time whether or not someone taking a loaf of bread out of the tea room is worthy of prosecuting. That is where this lands. So the TEC would have that ability to make their own determination as to whether or not, we're not sure, might be skating close to the line, but I really think they're only going to use those powers in the circumstance where someone is just outright lying. And in those circumstances, I think they should have the power. So I'm not really sure why, because it doesn't really pertain to the council itself. And the final one was investigatory powers. Again, we're kind of... Part 14. Yeah, part 14. It kind of goes to that there's other jurisdictions that have this power, such as Taspol, but we know that, I know, for example, sometimes when I ask for Taspol to come to my ambulance scenes, they have no crews to send for hours. Taspol are not necessarily resourced to investigate these types of matters. And if the state government think that it's judicious use of their resources, because the TEC is not our resource, it's theirs, then why not give them that power, just so long as the councils not build for it as part of the election cycle. So they're the ones that I would raise that I've picked up. Lord Mayor.
While we're on that topic, can I just ask the question whether we are billed for all activity from the TEC or just the counting process? Or would things like them pursuing, investigating complaints, would that all come back as a line item in the bill for council?
Look, that's not clear. It's certainly not, obviously at the moment, it doesn't happen. We just get billed for the activities of the election. So that's not something that is clear in the documents as I read them. So.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion, Councillor Coates.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Look, just very quickly, I think I've mentioned this to some people before, but, I can appreciate that the government in putting out these consultation papers wants to get the view of all the councils. I think that's a useful process where there's relative agreement or high level of agreement, but I think this area is quite complex. As we've already heard, there's different views on different sections. I think the work that's been done is highly valuable, and the work that's been done enables all of us around this table, anyone watching online, any interested member of the community to ultimately put in their own submission. I don't think that we can honestly sort of say we can go through a process of getting a majority view, but I think that it's so complex and nuanced in different sections that ultimately we're trying to do a little bit of a disservice in saying here's the, condensed sort of consolidated feedback. I think we should actually this is an instance where rather than providing feedback as a council, we should just take it on ourselves and others and interested parties, those watching, to individually provide your feedback, in what is a very complex area of reform. So I'll be voting against. Thanks.
Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I did just want to speak to part 6, just about elector polls, really. I can see what's written in here, and I hear what my colleagues are saying about this, but as someone who's experienced this, it is not that easy to get 1,000 signatures just to trigger a meeting, and it is even harder to get another 1,000 in the 30 days after the meeting to trigger an elector poll. Now, while I do support raising that number slightly, I would note that the recent attempt at getting an elector poll in a public meeting sort of sputtered, and that this really feels like it's aimed at the Save UTAS cause, which ultimately achieved 75% support. And even then, it was hard to get those signatures on the petitions to start with. So even where an issue is supported by 3/4 of the population, it is not that easy to generate these signatures. It is particularly difficult after the public meeting because you only have 30 days. So while I take the point that I'm hearing about polls, I do think 10% is a fair middle range. It probably is a little bit too easy at the moment, but 20% is impossible, essentially, I would suggest. It will be 20 times virtually what we have to do now. So I do support part 6. As for the rest of it, I'll see how we go during the vote, but I'm generally supportive of most of these items. Thank you.
Okay, if everyone's ready...
Just a question, Lord Mayor. I'm just curious how we're going to handle this in regards to the items that we're not going to support. I just need some clarity here, please.
Well, what I'm proposing is that you flag the issues, the items that you would like to vote against the recommendations. Okay, if you can flag those with me. I've already got a few.
Okay.
If you can flag some other ones.
Okay, give me a moment and I'll flag them.
Similar to Alderman Zuko, but just a procedural question. Is it possible, such as for the electoral expenses being brought to the same rather than having two different tiers, is it possible to foreshadow that within the vote? So we don't support that, but we do support X, Y and Z rather than it just being a don't support?
Yes.
You'll allow that? Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the ones we've already talked about, which is item. So basically, I'm only going to put the ones individually that have been flagged, and I'm still waiting to see if Alderman Zuko's got any other ones. Otherwise, it'll be then I'll go and do all of the rest leftovers as one block. Okay. So, item 2, the election of mayors, deputy mayors and councillors, and this is proposing that we do not support that in the submission, the change to the election of the Deputy Lord Mayor. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Show of hands, all those in favour?
Sorry.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, but we support, it's not support.
This vote is, do we go with what?
Do you support what's proposed in the submission?
Yes.
Not reports.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That we do not, yeah. You guys are wrong.
Okay,
You guys are wrong.
No.
So, okay. No, I'll let people know what we're doing. Okay. People have flagged items that they want to vote separately to what is recommended in our submission.
We do not support that.
The recommendations that we do not support the election of the mayor, the deputy mayor, as a democratic process. And
Around the table.
that's what the submission will say, unless this group say, no, we don't want to support that, okay?
Sorry to question, but we're voting on, do we support the deputy mayor to be elected, not around the table? No.
We support the officer's recommendation.
We're voting for the officer's recommendation, which is we don't support it. It is a bit confusing, but it's, if we vote yes, you're voting that we follow what's in the recommendation, which is that we don't support it, okay?
Sorry, I think what we want is confusing. So let's just say what the recommendation is. What we're supporting is that we maintain the status quo, that it is run by an election.
Yeah.
So if we say yes to that, we're all saying yes, we maintain the status quo of the deputy mayor will be
What the
elected.
recommendation is, okay.
So we're all, that's,
all right.
yeah. So yes.
So all those...
Clarify for myself, because Lord Mayor, I'm sorry, but I don't support this one and I don't support the other one. So
and you can vote against that.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So if you are in favour of what is recommended for item 2 from the staff to go in our submission, say aye.
Aye.
And show of hands.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Basalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko and Councillor Coates. That's carried, Lord Mayor.
And Lord Mayor, I don't support the status quo either. Can we have that as a motion,
You've got a
please?
third thing.
Yep. I don't support the status quo.
What's the third thing?
Where it's confusing here.
Well, I know, but, you know, trying to design a submission by committee is confusing. Could you put that in your idea as an individual submission, Alderman?
I'm putting my submission in, Lord Mayor, but again, I'm voting against this, and I want to vote against the other, and that's the whole thing. Look, can it just be noted that I'm against the whole thing on 2? That's it.
Okay. All right. Now the next item that was flagged as wanting to vote against what's recommended by the staff is item 14, which is investigatory powers of the Electoral Commissioner. So the submission will say that we do not support investigatory powers. If you're in favour of our submission saying that we do not support investigatory powers, please say aye.
Aye.
If you don't support that, say no. No. Okay, show of hands if you support. Say yes to what's in the submission.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Basalt, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield. That one is carried, Lord Mayor.
Okay, so that will go into the submission as is. Item 15, Part A, is it's recommended that we do not support the changes proposed around misleading, deceptive statements. So if you do support new prohibitions on misleading and deceptive statements, you wouldn't vote yes in this case. Okay. So all those in favour of what's here in the submission as it is currently written, say aye.
Aye.
All those against?
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour?
Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates,
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Passelt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, the Deputy and the Lord Mayor. That's lost, Lord Mayor.
Okay, we'll move on now to item 16.1, which is about the caps, and we're getting a foreshadowed motion from Councillor Posselt that everyone does 10,000. Is that right?
That's right, that all local governments have a $10,000 cap rather than having two tiers.
Okay, but that's foreshadowed. We don't have to think about that right now. So basically, if you support what's proposed by the government and is proposed to be supported by the council, all those in favour, if you're in favour of that, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say no. Show of hands, all those in favour?
Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Harvey and the Lord Mayor.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Passelt, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly and the Deputy. That one's lost.
Okay, so that's not supported, but we do have a foreshadowed that instead of the caps proposed here, that we have a cap of 10,000. Okay, seconded by Alderman Lohberger. Okay, did you want to speak to that?
Yeah, just very, very briefly, just to clarify for everybody, the benefits are, as I see it, it's equal across the state. There's no two tiers. I don't really understand why one council should be given a higher, more than 50% budget compared to another. I do obviously understand that we get remunerated more, but that's not true of the candidates. So the councillors get paid more, but the other people don't get paid more. So if we've got new people standing, it also, I think, levels the playing field to have more candidates who might want to throw their hat in and have a real red-hot go, even if they don't have the financial means to pull $16,000 out of their back pocket.
Okay, Councillor Coates, again, this is on the foreshadow.
Yeah, on the amendment.
Current motion, sorry.
Yep. Look, you know, I can understand the simplicity of just saying 10,000 across the board, but I think the proposal that they've put forward in the discussion paper of having two tiers does make sense. The brutal reality is Tasmania has a system where you've got very, very small councils, King Island, etc. You've then got a number of relatively large councils, Hobart, Launceston, Clarence. The brutal reality is elections do cost money. There is an element of the democratic process which is actually broadcasting out your policies, your messages, your ideas and informing the voters. And, you know, to be frank, running a campaign in the city of Launceston is going to be much more expensive than running a campaign on King Island. And look, you know, I'm not suggesting everyone will spend $16,000, but by putting in the same cap for those two councils, it's not reflective of the actual amount of work. Just simply getting letters printed, putting in advertisements in, you know, rather than King Island Courier versus the Examiner, you can rapidly see where there is a requirement for the larger councils to have a larger electoral spending cap. I personally don't think there should be a spending cap at all, but I think that having a single ban for every single council is just not realistic. And, you know, we already have an issue where it's quite difficult for voters to make an informed choice. You know, there are a lot of candidates running. There are a lot of issues. We saw it earlier today on a previous item, just how much activity the council does and the policy areas and the areas of people's lives that the council can impact. And so, you know, you as a candidate need to be able to, if you've got initiatives and proposals and policy ideas that are in the inclusive space, in the homelessness space, in the capital works budget, in the parks and recreation, in whatever area it is, you actually need to have that freedom and capacity to be able to get those ideas out there, share them, promote them, advertise them, inform the voters who you are, what you stand for. as I said, I fundamentally disagree with caps in general, but you know, it is the truth that running a campaign in Launceston or Hobart is going to be far more expensive than running a campaign on King Island, you know, on the West Coast or up at Break O'Day. So I think I can see why they've put 2 tiers in. I mean, I can't speak to the exact how they came up with the 16,000 versus 10, but you know, the reality is we have a number of relatively large councils in Tasmania. We all know who they are, you know, Hobart, Lonie, etc. And we have a whole bunch of those small ones. And so I think having the 2 tiers actually makes sense. And so I can't support the, not foreshadowed, but the motion to have a single tier.
Alderman Bloomfield.
The number of flyers you need, the number of signs you need, the amount of postage you need actually comes down to how many houses are in your area that you need to promote to. And that's really important because at the end of the day, what we want are people to be informed when they vote. It actually otherwise simply helps us in this room. We have the highest profile, and only those who've got a higher profile than us will actually have any opportunity to be able to inform the public they have some new idea or concept they want to support. So being able to at least by the very minimum be able to address the fact that they need to be able to get a flyer out to each household, whether it be by personally door knocking and doing it yourself, which I might, when you try and do this city, takes months. It does not take weeks, it does not take days. It takes months to do so. Or you send it out by Australia Post with their systems. That costs thousands. We really do need to be fair with the cost. And keep in mind too, just because you happen to need $16,000 or $18,000, whatever it is, keep in mind that you are able to take donations and fundraise to do so, which means it's not coming out of your pocket, it's coming out of those who are around you, who support you, who think that your idea is grand as well. So frankly, this is not about blocking people out. This is about allowing people in and recognising that a larger body of people requires more expense to reach them. And the best outcome is an informed outcome. And by effectively pushing and saying that reducing this cost, or in this case, reducing it right down, actually simply reduces democracy. And I actually don't think that's what we're here to do.
Further discussion, Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you. The issue of population and number of households is at the core of this. We don't all have the luxury of only working a day a week and be able to be on foot all the time. Some of us have to be able to get the hard copies paid for, printed and paid for, and in the letterboxes. I also worry that lowering the threshold would be seen as too much of a heavy burden on the implied freedom of political communication in terms of restricting access so that people can make an informed vote, so that actually could be open for a constitutional challenge in that regard, because having it as an equal, the rationale being, oh, it's equally with every other council, I imagine wouldn't be a legitimate end that would be trying to achieve, because the Constitution quite rightly puts an informed vote over, gives that a lot of precedence, and the population and the number of households is a relevant factor, and without knowing for sure, that would be, any rational person would see that that's the rationale behind the 2 tiers we have. So I think it makes sense that they remain.
Councillor Harvey.
Lord Mayor, what's the chances the state government will listen to us about whether it's 16 or 10? But I'm personally in favour of 16. I think 10 is just too low. You know, to run a reasonable campaign, you do need a few dollars to do that, and you can burn through 10,000 pretty quickly. So I'll be sticking with the 16,000 cap.
Further discussion? Any further discussion on the amendment? Okay. So, the new motion. So, I'm just wondering what happens if this gets supported. That becomes the council's new position. If this doesn't get supported, what goes in our submission?
It's basically the council doesn't support the changes.
It doesn't support any change. Okay. Alrighty, so if you're in favour of the the $10,000 cap, say aye.
Aye.
Against, say no.
No.
Show of hands, all those in favour.
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Passelt, Councillor Lohberger, and the Lord Mayor. And the Deputy.
And against?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kitsos, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, that's lost, Lord Mayor.
Okay, so that will mean that we do not support the electoral expenditure changes proposed in our submission. Okay, now I don't think I've got one
That's
more.
incorrect. That was no.
I think that vote was for the change of the caps. But
Yeah, that's it lost and so it got foreshadowed.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, I can clarify. I think we just voted then on the 10K.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that means we default to what we voted for before, which is that we do not support the changes proposed by the government to the advertising caps.
Oh, wait a minute. It's confusing.
Lord Mayor, can I move that we resubmit that item?
Okay, so Part 16, electoral expenditure. Currently, the council is proposing to support the government's change.
That's what I'm supporting.
Yeah, I'm supporting the change as well.
16,000.
16.
Yeah.
I'm supporting what's been proposed.
Yeah.
All right. So, well, can we recommit that? Or we can hear from...
Sorry, Lord Mayor, now I'm confused.
Yeah. What was the vote?
The keeping 16.1 as is was lost, and then the alternate motion was lost.
Look,
So
can we,
status.
Lord Mayor, can we please commit that again,
Okay.
please? Because it's totally confusing. I'll move that we recommit that item.
That's what I said.
So if you vote for this item now, you are voting for what is proposed by the staff. Yeah. Okay,
Lord
all
Mayor,
those in
sorry,
favour?
you have to actually put that to recommit the item. I'm not being
Okay.
I'm technical, but I'm just...
So who would like to move that?
I moved it already.
Second by councillor Kitsos. All right. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Show of hands. All those in favour?
For the 16,000.
No. To recommit the item to have it voted on again. That's what we're doing.
And Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Selt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy, and the Lord Mayor. That's carried. Oops, sorry.
Okay. All those against?
Councillor Lohberger and Alderman Bloomfield.
Okay, so now I'm going to re-put 16.1, and if you support what is there and proposed there in front of you, say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Show of hands. All those in favour?
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Passelt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, and the Lord Mayor.
Against?
Councillor Coates, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, and the Deputy. That one's carried.
Carried. Okay, so we have one more which has been flagged, which is item 6 around the petitions, polls and public meetings. So if you vote for this, you do not support the government's proposed bill to raise the elector poll threshold to 20% of electors. Okay, so
What number are we voting on, Lord Mayor?
Part 6, it's the very last one.
Page 59.
Okay. All those in favour of not supporting?
Sorry. Just to clarify again, where we do not support the 20%, but we support a 10%. So we support the officer's recommendation.
Yes.
Okay. Even though we do not support, we support the recommendation.
We don't support what's in the bill. So if you vote
Yeah.
yes, you do not support what is in the bill from the government about electoral polls. Okay, all those in favour, say aye.
Aye.
against say no.
No.
All those in favour, hands up.
Councillor Elliott, Councillor Coates, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey and Lord Mayor.
Against.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta. Sorry, Councillor Pasol, can I just confirm your vote, please?
No.
And Deputy? Is also a no. That's carried.
Okay, great. Well, I think that's everything. So now I'm going to put the motion as amended with those, if there's any changes. I'm not going to go through what they are now, but we voted on those and now we'll just vote on the rest of the submission and the report. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no.
Aye.
Okay, show of hands. All those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Pasalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy and Mayor.
And against?
Councillor Coates.
Okie doke. Now we will move on to report on the items 15 annual general meeting motions.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Harvey, second by Councillor Lohberger. All those, any discussion? All those in favour say aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Item 16, Code of Conduct. Councillor Elliott is declared an interest. So that is a motion to receive a note, moved by Councillor Lohberger, seconded by Councillor Harvey. Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a quick some commentary on process. I know that
the motion be put, Lord Mayor.
Okay, there's a procedural motion seconded by Alderman Bloomfield. All those in favour say aye. And say no.
No.
Show of hands. All those in favour.
Alderman Zuko and Alderman Bloomfield. And, sorry, Councillor Kelly.
And against?
Councillor Dutta, Councillor Coates, Councillor Pasalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, the Deputy and the Lord Mayor. That's all.
We've got the mover and the seconder, don't we? Yes, we do, yeah. Okay. Councillor Posselt.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. As I said, it's just some commentary on the process, just noting that this complaint was lodged in 2023 and it's only come to light in 2026, and justice delayed is justice not served. But I would note that the Parliament have changed the process for Code of Conduct. The appeals are now heard in TASCAT rather than in the Magistrates Court. And I just wanted to flag that with the public, let them know that that change has in fact occurred, and I believe the intent behind that is to speed up the appeals process. But I would still remind TASCAT, the state government and the council that, again, a prompt delivery of a decision, even when it's appealed, and the appeal is important, the mechanism to allow people to appeal in our justice system is essential, but just so long as it's resourced appropriately and dealt with in a timely manner, so that we don't see almost an entire term of council pass before a councillor is held accountable for their actions through the process that the state government prescribes for us to deal with breaches of the Code of Conduct. So hopefully the new system works a little better. But yeah, this is a very old complaint, and there has been some commentary in the media that it's tactics leading up to an election. But obviously with this being lodged in 2023, it's hardly a matter of the election. It's just how long it has taken to go through multiple appeals and multiple hearings to land with a public determination report that we see before us tonight. Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Can I just, Councillor Elliott, are you?
Oh, you're still going?
Yeah, we're still going. So
Okay.
we'll give you a bell when we're ready. Can I just ask a question around the... I understand that there's a state government rule that means that panel determinations can't be published. Can I get a clarification about when we understand that is likely to be changed, and whether that's normal practice in code of conduct processes in other parts of Australia?
I won't be able to answer the second part to your question without doing some research, taking that on notice, but as it presently stands, the Local Government Act requires that any determination from a code of conduct panel is confidential, and indeed all of the activities that are included in the panel's deliberations are confidential until such time as it's included on the agenda of a council meeting. So that's under the Local Government Act.
And though, do we have any sense about whether the state government is planning to change that, and if so, why? How would that happen?
Point of order, Lord Mayor. Look, I believe you're raising an issue that's not relevant to the actual motion. The motion is to receive a note. I appreciate comments around the code of conduct process, questions, but I don't think it's really relevant to the actual thing, which is the determination that we're receiving and noting.
Thank you.
Worthy discussion, but this isn't the time to have it.
Yeah, I accept your point of order, but I'm going to waive it and let the question be answered by the CEO.
Thanks, Lord Mayor. Look, I can't specify when the government may move to change that. I'm aware that they are supportive of changing and removing the confidentiality requirements, but again, it would be a matter for the government to be able to answer that.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. Just on that particular issue that you were talking about, I know in a code of conduct that I lodged, that was one of the first cases to be heard in TASCAT. The specifics still remain confidential, but the decision in terms of the determination from the code of conduct panel was actually within that case actually published. So for my particular one, just so that you know, so the specifics may remain confidential, but for example, the one that I was just involved in, that I was the complainant, the determination from the panel was actually part of that TASCAT appeal. Thank you.
Councillor Lohberger.
Question through you, Lord Mayor. I'm just wondering what the rules are when someone accuses themselves from this room. Just for the cameras, Councillor Elliott is just standing at the door here listening to us. She's within my peripheral vision. Is that how this system is supposed to work? I'm a bit confused. I thought we had to go into the other room where we couldn't hear and couldn't be seen, and therefore potentially affect the debate.
I understand.
You can watch it online.
It's the same issue. The CEO might have a comment, but we might have to...
I mean, you can look at this. There is no law or statute that requires where an individual needs to be. They need to remove themselves from the table, from the room, and not participate in the debate. So, but again, I can take specific advice around being able to see an individual.
Thank you, Steve.
I can probably just add that there was an advice provided by the Director of Local Government probably about 2016 about myself, because I declared a conflict and sat in the back of the room. It was about a submission I'd written. So, and I think there was a opinion given by the Director, so maybe that is relevant. Okay, Councillor Dutton.
Just another clarification, because I'm now confused. When earlier someone declared a conflict, went through that room out of sight, and I was told that it should be in the other room. So if that's the normal practice, as it were, that has been the practice, I just want clarification. Is that a normal practice, or because there is no rule or law?
I don't think there was a particular comment made by the CEO. I think Alderman Zuko actually said it was common practice for people, but it was so there wasn't an official determination made on it or comment made on it by the CEO.
As we mentioned, Lord Mayor asked a question, it was answered. I'm happy with the answer. Thank you very much.
And I think I just said that's the practice, yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'll put that. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against say no. Carried unanimously. So for Councillor Elliott to what? Okay. Item 17 is the extreme weather protocol motion from Councillor Lohberger and Councillor Dutta. Councillor Lohberger, are you wanting to move the motion?
Thank you, Lord Mayor.
Seconded by Councillor Dutta.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce the motion. I reserve the right to close as well, if that's okay. All right, so this is all about an extreme weather protocol. I just wanted to start by explaining what it is really. So an extreme weather protocol is a program that aims to increase shelter availability for homeless people during extreme weather events. This includes heat waves, freezing temperatures and severe storms. It is a well-established fact that extreme weather creates serious health risks for people who are homeless and who cannot escape the weather. Living in a car or a tent with no heating or air conditioning can be a death trap during extreme weather, which is when this protocol would kick in. I think today is a good example. I don't think...
Can you just, before you continue with your time, just point out to elected members that it is a different motion that you're proposing?
Okay, sorry, I was going to deal with that a bit further on, but for those who are watching from home, we have added, Councillor Dutta and I have added a third point to the motion following some discussion this afternoon. And I will get to that shortly. So I was just talking about today. Today's a very good example of extreme weather. If we had a run of days like this in a row, you can imagine that people living in tents and cars and under bridges are going to have some severe health issues because you just cannot cool down. Not only do they not have air conditioning, they don't have access to cool water either. So the protocol is not meant to replace the existing safe space shelter system, but to supplement it during extreme weather by increasing the available shelter space in the city. Both South Australia and Victoria have these protocols in place, paid for by the state government, as that is the responsible level of government for housing. Unfortunately, the Tasmanian government has repeatedly refused to fund this protocol, so after some debate amongst other elected members, Councillor Dutta and I have added this third part to our motion in anticipation of the Tasmanian government potentially again refusing this funding request. I do hope the government does not refuse this again, as they are the appropriate level of government that should be funding this protocol. But if they do refuse, then I don't think we can continue to leave people out in the heat or the cold any longer. And so this third section does propose that the council waits for a response from the government, and if the government refuses again, that the council funds a 2-year trial ourselves, with the very clear intention that we hand it over to the Tasmanian government at the end of that trial period. Finally, I just wanted to talk about how these things are triggered. The declaration of an extreme weather response is triggered by the Bureau of Meteorology issuing a severe or extreme heatwave warning, or a severe or extreme storm warning, or forecasting a minimum temperature of 0 degrees or lower. So clearly we're talking about significant freezing or extremely hot weather, or days on end of rain, wet weather and wind. So look, I'll reserve my right to speak again on this, but I would commend this motion to everybody else in the room. It is something that has been worked on extremely hard by a large number of organisations, and so that includes not only the Hobart City Council staff, who have done an excellent job on developing this protocol, I have to add. We've had input on this process from the Bureau of Meteorology, Hobart City Mission, Legat, DPAC, the Clarence City Council, the Glenorchy City Council, the SES and UTAS. So this is not just something that Councillor Dutta and I have come up with. We have brought this to the table after a request from the Housing with Dignity group that we both sit on. It has come up repeatedly during my time on that committee. But our most recent meeting in December, it was a significant topic of conversation following week upon week upon week of severe wind weather warnings. The homeless people in Hobart A lot of people lost things, a lot of tents were destroyed. I think that weather was horrendous for people who were living in houses, but living in a car or under a tent just made it that much worse. So I commend the motion to the room, and I reserve my right to speak again.
Alderman Bloomfield, I think, was up first.
This is a motion that I think this council should be very proud of. It also demonstrates the value of these committees, that they do liaise very well with the community, and at times like this come out with a brilliant concept and outcome. The question I have is, given that we are within weeks of significant weather issues, given that it's normally February, March where we have our worst heat wave times, I'd like to know how quickly could this be installed? At what point are we going to say, we'll just do it despite the government may or may not supply income? Do we have an estimate start point?
Would you like me to answer that, Lord Mayor? I can answer that. Look, I do think we have to wait for the government. I do think we need to wait for the government to respond to this particular call. So it is very difficult, isn't it? It is their responsibility. How long is a piece of string? I don't really know how long it will take the government to respond, but I would ask that perhaps through the Lord Mayor's office that we can contact them quite quickly after this meeting if this motion passes.
Because I would very dearly like to see this being installed as quickly as we can. Should we start getting some of these extraordinary weather days over 40 degrees and so forth, I can only imagine how welcome this would be. The other thing is too that the money itself is not significant when we consider the $170,000 given within days for the cycle lanes and other associated costs for other associated projects, which simply do not have the personal impact on people that this does. This is something about climate resilience. This is something that we really should be focusing on profoundly, because possibly it won't necessarily just hold for extreme weather days, but imagine if there's a significant fire, we now have another place set up ready to rock because people have lost their homes possibly as well. I just feel this really starts a journey which addresses the real issues that our community may or may not be facing in the next mere few weeks. So I really commend the fact that this is being brought up, and I absolutely urge this room to support. Thank you.
Alderman Zuko.
Yes, Lord Mayor, considering that we've got point 3 there, could the mover and seconder please ask if we can have those items voted on separately, please?
Happy to have them voted on separately,
Thank you
Lord
very
Mayor.
much. Okay, look, I just want to...
Councillor Dutton, you happy with that?
Yeah.
There's a question. I just want to make the point, I cannot support 3 in its current format unless I see a detailed report on costings and everything like that, and I've just been very consistent in the way I approach everything. I cannot support it because that's an open-ended to provide funding for the proposal, which, look, over the years, I've even since the 90s, I've supported the homeless, but we need to know what the costs are. We need to sort of sit down and look at the funding, and we also need to look at, right, you know, we're saying in this whole motion that if the state government refuses, we go down the track of a trial that we don't even know what the funding is going to be, right? But then give it back to the government to take it over. Well, if they don't support it, it's going to be obvious that they probably won't, most likely won't take it over. Once we go down the track of starting something like this, we need to seriously think, right, we've started it, are we going to continue it? That part 3 needs a detailed report. So I cannot support it in its format, and I won't accept any changes to it further because I'm not interested in it at the moment. I'm going to simply vote against it, and if it gets up, it gets up.
Councillor Coates.
Thank you. Look, this is one of those ones I very much agree with the sentiment behind this motion, but I think it's just not the right structure of how to get there. Look, you know, Housing Tasmania has, you know, $4.5 billion of assets and 200 million. I've got their annual report open right now. Of, you know, roughly income and expenditure every year. So, you know, the real question is, when they look at allocating that $200 million in order to help people get into housing or house people, that's their mandate, you know, why is it that they're not covering extreme weather? This sort of predisposes that they're not funded to do it. I don't wonder that. So there's a bit there, but I guess I'm a little bit not sceptical about. But I would hope that the board of Homes Tasmania, you know, I know that the 2023 strategy was a 20-year strategy. They're 2 years into that. They've got a 5-year action plan. You know, they go through the process similar to what we do, where they identify the most immediate needs and pressing activities and actions they can do. I have no reason to doubt that they've done that work properly. You know, the brutal reality is you can't do all things for everyone at all times in all instances. So that's an aspect of it. If I get feedback that their action plan was wrong, their strategy is wrong, what they're doing is wrong, and hey, you need to go back to the drawing board and put together a new strategy, then that's a different conversation to have with them. But this sort of predisposes that we've got this other thing that we think Homes Tasmania should do, was when I read your annual report of what they are doing, and to me it seems very good. The second one is, this motion, if we pass it, is us telling the state government, we need you to fund Homes Tasmania more money so that they can partner back and give that money essentially to us at the council. I also am not confident that that's necessarily a fair and equitable model. You know, Homes Tasmania as an agency, I'm reading it now. They've given Hobart City Mission, what has it got here? They've got a 2023 to 2029 Housing Connect front door and personalised support service. I think it's 9 million. Anglicare, Catholic Care Tasmania. You know, there's a whole list of participation by local businesses. They've awarded $89 million in contracts. You know, I think if Hobart City Council has a solution and an offer on the table, we should be competing for some of these contracts and putting that forward. We shouldn't be sort of going around Homes Tasmania to the government and saying, we want you to fund them specifically so that you can fund us. You know, if we have solutions and we can use our resources to help, obviously in the municipality of Greater Hobart, you know, I look forward to the officers coming up with those ideas and putting them forward. But I think it's a little bit circuitous to instead go around and lobby the government to increase funding to Homes Tasmania to give it to us. We should instead be doing the opposite direction. We should say, hey, we've come up with a really good solution here that has good community outcomes, good community benefits, potentially uses the resources of a council that we have available to us, and so it's a real partner model. And, you know, talk to Homes Tasmania board. Say, hey, if you structure your program in this way, we've actually got a good proposal. Maybe we put in an unsolicited proposal. You know, I think it needs to be us talking to Homes Tasmania, not necessarily lobbying the government to increase Homes Tasmania's funding. That's Homes Tasmania's job. If they feel they're underfunded, you know, they need to put forward those points. So, look, I agree 100% with the intent behind this motion. I also have no doubt that the groups, and I listened carefully to the introductory speech, are very keen to advocate in this space. But I think as a local authority, you know, at the end of the day, this sits with the state government for a reason. Whether you're a homeless person in Hobart or Clarence or Glenorchy or Launceston or King Island, you know, that's Homes Tasmania's market to address. And they do issue permits, they work with organisations, they put out grant programs. That's where Hobart City can step in. I don't think we should be writing to the state government calling for a specific grant for a specific purpose to come back to us. Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Lord Mayor. I'd like to say thank you to the elected members for bringing this particular motion, and I'm indeed supportive of it. I know there was particular commentary around point 3 and not having any particular budget for this, but I do note that within the supporting information that we'd received, there was an allocated amount, and I'll just read it for those who may not be aware. As it was already detailed, it says the City of Hobart financial contributions towards the development of the protocol would be staff time to the value of $20,000 with a material resource, staff and venue contribution up to the value of $5,000 each time the protocol is stood up. So I just wanted to clarify that that has been included as part of the supporting information, if elected members would like to further think about that. Thank you very much, and thank you to the elected members.
Further discussion, Councillor Posselt.
Yes, thank you, Lord Mayor. This won't take too long. I am very grateful of the motion coming before Council tonight from my colleagues. The health and safety of our most vulnerable people is a real touchstone for me, having seen sometimes the consequences of when we don't look after our vulnerable people firsthand. I think that these extreme weather events are likely to be increasing in frequency and increasing in severity. And I've long held the view that when there is some contention over whose jurisdiction and whose responsibility is to provide key services, particularly services that are about safety. Line marking is a great example that local government and state government have been arguing at each other. Who's going to fund the line marking? All the lines have fallen apart, but recently Council has taken on board some of the responsibility because it just needs to be done. And councils are a place where we get stuff done. When it needs to be done, we do it. In this instance, I'd refer my colleagues to Section 20 of the Local Government Act, Section 21A. In addition to any functions of a council in this or any other act, a council has the following functions. A, to provide for the health, safety and welfare of the community. Now, I don't necessarily think this is actually a housing matter. We're not providing housing. We are providing a shelter in extreme weather to keep people safe. And we have to remember that in extreme weather, emergency services do become more stretched, whether it's fire or whether it is a heat wave or a cold snap. Ambulance and police will be busy dealing with welfare checks for the elderly, dealing with people who haven't been seen, and dealing with people who suffer from severe medical conditions that are exacerbated by extreme heat and extreme cold. Not to mention pollen counts, which Councillor Lohberger referenced, the wind phenomena we have seen. We must all recall the thunderstorm asthma event that occurred in Melbourne. We are not immune to that phenomena occurring here. Should the atmospheric conditions present in a way where people are vulnerable and an event like that occurs, there will be no resources available to assist people who should have been protected in the first place. This council can do that service. We are a council that gets stuff done. Very grateful to see the motion and very pleased to see point 3, that if the state government won't step up to the plate, Hobart City Council will.
Councillor Dutta.
Lord Mayor, through you, I have two questions. Question number 1, the budget allocation that's been recommended with regards to 20,000 and 5,000, the total of 25,000. My question is, does that include 5 days of that extreme weather? Question 1.
Through you, Lord Mayor, the 25,000 is made up of 20,000 of staff time to develop the protocol and the MOU, so that's purely officer time. The $5,000 would be each event, which could go for up to 2 days. That would be the provision of 1 staff member overnight, and it would be catering, the value of, say, Neighbours House as a venue, and the usage of some of our equipment that we have for evacuation centres. So it'd be replacement of things such as bedding, doonas and pillows. The actual staffing cost that would be required that we're asking the state government to fund is around $6,000 for a weeknight or $11,000 for a weekend night, which comprises of specialist homeless services staff. So they would be staff engaged by Hobart City Mission. So that funding would not come to the City of Hobart, it would be directly to Hobart City Mission, and for security. So for each night it would be around, if it was a weeknight, $6,000 actual cost or $11,000 actual cost of a weekend night. And the suggestion would be that it may be a maximum of 2 nights per event, and there could be up to 5 events a year based on current weather predictions.
Thank you so much for the clarification. Now, I understand the reservations made with regards to question number 3, but with the clarification given to us, I think it's very clear to me. And this particular item, Lord Mayor, began in 2019, and I think when I took over the chairman's role in the Homeless and the Housing Alliance portfolio, you were the chair, and I remember you pushing this so strongly. And we went through the administrative protocols, and we've gone through it for the last 5-6 years, and we have come to this place. Now, having come to this place, we are saying now, how else can we address this? And I think we want to look at issues where we can make an impact for the most vulnerable. It's easy for us, to be living in glitter and gold and warmth, as it were. But when it comes to the homeless people, I think that's where we need to really do something. And I think for me, it is time we realize that there are 2,350 homeless people in the state from the statistics that's given to us. We have been informed from the statistics given to us, there's about 150 homeless people here in the greater Hobart area. So really, if we want to put our money where the need is for the vulnerable people, the homelessness, I think we will support this, because the cost is not too much, really. If it's going to cost us only 6,000 or 12,000 for 2 nights and 11,000 for the weekend, I'm sure we as a local government will be able to say, yes, we will do that for our most needy people. Thank you.
Councillor Harvey.
Well, Mayor, I'm going to repeat something I've said several times, and that's to watch a series called The Weather That Changed Us. The Black Saturday fires of 2009 killed about 174 people, but over 400 people died from the heat wave at the time. Temperatures overnight didn't drop below 35 degrees for several days, and that put so much stress on people that it killed them. So it's the only time, it's the biggest death toll in our history from a weather event or an emergency event. But the fact is that this will happen again if we don't cool our cities, and that's the main point I'd like to make, that we need to have cool cities, and we're trying to do that with our tree canopy. We're trying to do that with street trees. We're also measuring the heat effect of Hobart as well. There's a project on at the moment which is looking at temperature change and heat islands and all the rest of it throughout the northern suburbs, Hobart, the suburbs. So we'll understand where it's hotter in suburbs. So understanding that's really important. But if I was camped by the river, I'm probably in a cooler environment than if I was camped in the car park. So heat's not the same everywhere. It depends on what the vegetation is like around you, proximity to water. I walked through the park today on the way here, and it was heaps cooler than walking down Davey Street. So St David's Park over the road there is a very cool place to go if it's hot. And on a hot day, you'll see people sitting in the shade over there. But having a place where people can go so they can have a cup of tea or cool water, wash their face, cool down, be with other people is important as well. So I'm supportive of this tonight. But I just want us to see the bigger picture of what happens with extreme weather, and as extreme weather increases over time, which it's all predicted to do. So we're going to have more hot weather, more windy weather, fire seasons will be more fierce. So there's a lot of issues that are coming at us, and to be prepared, because we've got a plan, we've got an MOU, ahead of time, I think is important. So to get this work done, I think is an element of building resilience in our city. But it's not just about having the homeless people come into this shelter, it's about all the other people that struggle during heat waves as well. And people were dying in their homes and in their nursing homes from the heat wave of 2009. And the response from the Victorian government was to start a massive tree planting project in the western suburbs of Victoria. Very few people died in the leafy eastern suburbs. Most people died in the barren western suburbs of Melbourne, which didn't have much vegetation. So that's something we need to keep in mind, especially when we come to Glenorchy, where our vegetation in Hobart's probably better than theirs is. they've got a lot of barren streets in that area, and people also have to be able to afford to turn their air cons on. And during the financial, the cost of living crisis, people are reluctant to spend the extra energy turning on their air cons, which might save their lives. And we've got to make sure that there's people who are checking up on people all the time as well. So it's a complicated issue. It's not just about having Mather's House open and hoping that homeless people will wander in when they might be sitting in the shade of a tree already, but having a place to come if they need to, where they can meet others, have a feed, have a drink, and be in a safe environment, I think is important. So I will support this motion today, but it's on the books here. I think we say, well, the motion is that we look at the 26-27 budget. So it's not, we're not taking money out of reserves now. That'd be the case. It'll be considered for budgeting in 26-27, which I'm happy to do. But I would like to see the MOU developed so we know what to do when the temperature hits 35 in Hobart a couple of days in a row, and that's when the pressure starts to hit. If you can't sleep very well, then you're vulnerable. So it might be hot during the day, but if it's hot overnight and you're struggling, then that's where you've got problems. So there's a lot more involved in this than just opening up Mather's House to accommodate potentially some people. There's a bigger issue of how we build resilience into our city, make sure our cities are cool, and that we look after the vulnerable people who are vulnerable to heat waves.
Councillor Elliott.
Yes, just a question, please, for the relevant person, the movers. I was just wondering what the action, or what in point 2, what the action or decision is that we're voting on. It seems just like more like a descriptive paragraph. Just not sure what the actual action is in number 2.
Councillor.
Okay, so it should have been in the rationale, or with item number 1.
We all do things differently.
Yeah. Okay, I was just wanting to make sure I wasn't missing something. So there's no action in number 2. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion? Final, I might say a few things if I can, if there's no further contributions. So yeah, I'm very happy to see this on the agenda and being able to vote on it. As Councillor Dutta said, it's been discussed and worked on for 6 years, which is too long for anything as important as this. You know, like a lot of things the City of Hobart does, we are leading the conversation at the state level, and the Greater Hobart Homelessness Alliance, which came together as a result of a unanimous motion of the council, I think passed in about 2000 and I can't remember exactly when, 18 or 19. That alliance has had this on its work plan since 2019 because it's such a good idea and it's such a common protocol led by state government, housing departments, homelessness departments, and to some extent health departments. So yeah, Adelaide has Code Blue and Code Red. Victoria has something similar, but Victoria's also recently just brought in a Cooler Places protocol, which will see about 100 cool spaces opened up by local councils, but the arrangement allows for councils to invoice the state government back for their staff time. And that will only happen, again, it happens in a very disciplined way, that when the state controller says, right, we've reached this point, that's when everyone gets moving. And those cooler places in 100 places around Victoria, obviously they've got a much hotter climate than we do, they're open to everybody when it's over a certain degree. So that's eventually, I think that's where Councillor Harvey's going with something. Once, you know, we might be looking at sort of a cooler spaces program, which is for everybody. My understanding is this is really targeted at people who are sleeping rough when it is just impossible to be sleeping outside comfortably. We know the Safe Night Space only has 35 spaces. So this is a sort of, this is a pop-up extra set of beds when, you know, you've got 100-kilometre an hour winds out there or just absolutely torrential rain. I want to acknowledge what the staff's, the administration response says, which is that there actually is a really good working relationship with state government agencies. And in fact, and that's what I've seen over the years. State government agencies want to see this happen, but they aren't necessarily the Treasurer or the Treasury. But the most recent collaboration involved a submission, a budget submission that went to the most recent Tasmanian government, and that submission was led by us but involved the Bureau of Meteorology, Clarence City Council, Department of Health, Department of Premier and Cabinet, Glenorchy City Council, Hobart City Mission, LGAT, Neighbourhood Houses Tasmania, State Emergency Service and the University of Tasmania. So all of those people backed in this submission. It's gone to the state government. We can keep trying because this should be funded not just in Hobart but statewide. It wouldn't be a big budget allocation, and again it would only be when the state government themselves say, okay, we've got code blue or code red conditions. My understanding is that Homes Tasmania did take a bit of time to get into this because they don't really see their brief as homelessness services as much. But they, in the end, with the most recent submission, supported the submission. So, you know, we've done our homework, we've been on a journey, but my goodness, you know, why these things take so long and do require City of Hobart leadership when these are really common practices with all other state governments, and they actually fund them too. We may have to provide some funding, and that is cost shifting, I think, but you know, hopefully that it will become something that the state government eventually recognise that is the practice around the country. I also just wanted to clarify very quickly that this is not evacuation shelters for Alderman Bloomfield. So evacuation shelters, of course, always are set up when there's an order from the emergency controller that we establish an evacuation centre. We've got a budget for that. We've got much bigger places. This is something much more targeted for people sleeping rough. Okay, Councillor Lohberger.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll just sum up. I won't take too long. Look, as already discussed around the table, the protocol is an important tool that can and will help vulnerable Tasmanians facing extreme weather conditions. I would urge my colleagues to support all three parts of the motion when it comes to us, although I suspect we could probably do 1 and 2 together, Lord Mayor, given that 2 is not, has no action. And I will just end my contribution by paraphrasing the words of the South Australian Human Services Minister, Nat Cook, spoken when she declared an extreme winter weather response in South Australia last August, which they call the Code Blue. The summer responses are the Code Reds. So Minister Nat Cook said the following, which I absolutely agree with. We know winter can be dangerous for people without a roof over their head. This is about providing a warm, safe place to sleep and the support people need to get them through the worst of the bad weather. Our priority is making sure nobody is left out in the cold. The Code Blue activation means extra services and shelter will be available to those sleeping rough. Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll end there.
Okay, I'll put that. All those in favour. Oh, sorry, I'm going to put 1 and 2 first. Okay, so 1 and 2 together. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Again, say no. Show of hands. All those in favour.
Alderman Zuko, Councillor Dutta, Councillor Elliott, Councillor Basalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor and the Lord Mayor.
Against?
Councillor Coates.
Now, item 3. All those in favour say aye. Against say no. Show of hands. All those in favour.
Councillor Elliott, Councillor Basalt, Councillor Kitsos, Councillor Lohberger, Alderman Bloomfield, Councillor Kelly, Councillor Harvey, Deputy Lord Mayor.
Oh, and against, sorry.
Alderman Zuko and Councillor carried, Lord Mayor.
We'll move on now to the responses to questions without notice, if those can be received and noted. Oh,
Lord Mayor.
Moved by, Councillor Harvey, seconded by Councillor Posselt.
I need to ask the question 5 again because I don't believe...
When we get to that item, Councillor.
Oh, right, okay. Right.
So all those in favour say aye. Aye. Against say no. Carried unanimously. Next one is questions without notice. So, Alderman Zuko, you wanted to...
Well, Lord Mayor, I asked a question in regards to travel costs associated with travel. Item 5, I asked the question, what are the staffing costs associated with the staff escorting either the elected member or the Lord Mayor on trips? The answer came that 2025 Leaders Forum travel costs were fully funded by, I wasn't talking about travel costs, I was talking about staffing costs. So could I ask the question in regards to point 5 of my original question, what are the staffing costs associated with it, not the travel costs, please?
Any other questions without notice? Councillor Dutta.
I have a few questions, Lord Mayor, and then I will forward these questions later to the Secretary. Thank you. Question 1. Has there been any instances of elected members misusing petrol allowance for purchases outside of Tasmania during the current council term? That's question 1. Question number 2. Did staff undertake any investigation, or was there an external investigation conducted on this matter, if it is happening? Number 3, if such instances exist, can we be provided details of each incident, including dates of misuse, locations of purchase, amounts involved, elected members involved, actions taken in response, and explanation given by elected members for misunderstanding of the policy? And question number 3, were there any policies in place to prevent this sort of misunderstanding by elected members? Thank you.
They'll be taken on notice.
It's a bit detailed. We'll need to take it on notice.
Any further questions? Councillor Elliott.
Yes, thank you. I have an update on the EOI status of the More Information booth. Have we received much interest, if any?
Well, I can say, because Ben's briefed me previously, that I think we have got a submission that has been assessed, which is very shortly about to come to council. So.
Okay. All right. Okay. Great. Thank you. And can officers provide advice on whether parties to a code of conduct should be declaring an interest when it comes to being noted? Because I know that I have, but I was just wondering the protocol, because historically they haven't.
We've dealt with this one before, in the sense to say it's for each elected member to make their own call on whether they believe they have a conflict of interest. We can seek to consolidate advice and provide it again to elected members if the council, so we can do that.
Okay, thank you. With the aquatic centre passes that some elected members take up, which are declared on our gifts and benefits policy, is that for our own individual use, the aquatic centre passes?
Yes.
Yeah, and are we allowed to take our teenage son into the aquatic centre gym areas to use those? Under our pass?
Well, I've just said that they are for the individual. So
I can't take my teenage son into the aquatic centre under that pass.
I answered that.
Okay, that's a no. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to confirm that the council on item 11 voted to approve the Hobart for All document in its current form, as it is, despite my advice that around the hate language in there, that the council approved that in its current form. Is that what the vote was on item 11? Did it pass with majority?
Yes, it was carried.
Fascinating. Thank you.
Councillor Posselt.
Yeah, Lord Mayor, just firstly to Councillor Elliott, if I may, I'm not sure what she's referring to when she said the hate speech within that document, and that's an imputation on all of the council because it's a pointed question. So Councillor Elliott, what hate speech are you referring to within the document that we endorsed?
I'll take it on notice, thank you.
You provide a written response?
I'll take it on notice, thank you.
Okay.
notice and provide a written response.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair. Chair, through you, I have 4 questions this evening. And I'll provide them to save our administrative staff. I will provide them all in writing and to you directly. So, question number 1. It's a matter of public interest that the Council be provided with the total legal costs of defending matters brought against the Council, employees and or elected members by Councillor Elliott and her immediate family during this term of Council. Can this information please be provided? Question number 2. Is unopened alcohol or spare alcohol stored in the elected members' lounge? If so, where is it stored and is it under lock and key? Question number 3. How does the addition of points to motions after advice articulate with the requirements for qualified advice under section 65(2) of the Act? And you may be able to answer that one, or you may wish to take that one on notice. So this is the late edition of, and we've got the agendas published, reports provided by council officers. We've got another point that hasn't been addressed by council staff. Is it legal for us to consider that?
I'd rather take all of those.
Yeah, no, that's fine. All good. I just wanted to give you the opportunity in case. And the other one, which will be for our experts in our tree team, so it will also be taken on notice. Question number 4. In relation to the dying giant sequoias in St David's Park, I've noticed similar foliage change to a number of pine tree species around Greater Hobart, including on the Queen's Domain. Is it possible that the city and surrounds are experiencing a mass die-off of pine trees? If so, could it be related to heat and dry stress associated with the changing climate? And is it possible for our tree team to have a look at known pines within our municipality and assess them?
Councillor Elliott.
Thank you. And a final question, please. Does the General Manager have authority to investigate allegations of elected member misconduct?
I'll take that one on notice.
Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. Just a few questions. Could we get an update, or could you provide an update on the farmers market move to study at least to Collins Street? Is there, where are we at with the next report and a timeline for that? Also, too, can an employee of the Hobart City Council enter the members' lounge and consume alcohol on that property if they've been invited by a family member? Thirdly, I can ask that other one. And can an elected member invite their family and friends to consume alcohol and eat food in the elected members' lounge without a booking?
I'll take the last 2 on notice. Thanks, Lord Mayor. The first, I can advise that obviously Council workshopped the proposal to consider the relocation of the farmers market into Collins Street. That from that workshop there was a series of investigations or matters that the council wanted to have investigated, so that's occurring now. Even as far as securing advice to be able to look at the wind issues that have been identified, so I believe it's listed for a workshop next month. And so we'll hope to bring that back for the council to consider that additional advice.
Alderman Zuko.
Yes, I have a question, Lord Mayor. Can the CEO please provide us the what's best practice in respect of alcohol consumption in the organisation and or the elected members' room, and that is outside of functions, bookings and or events?
Yes, I can provide that.
Thank you.
Councillor Elliott.
Does the organisation have video footage of an elected member removing alcohol from the organisation at 10:30 on a Saturday night?
Their partner.
And their partner?
Not to my knowledge.
Okay, I think that's all the questions. Alderman Bloomfield.
I just have a question. I find it interesting that elected members often find that they need to obtain videos and data and photos of Collins Street. Is any data collected anything remotely similar by council? Why is it that elected members feel compelled to? Because I just find it so strange that we need to do it. We're not people who are trained to do so, but we are compelled to because it doesn't appear to happen unless we do. So is there any form of research, data collection and video footage of the issues that we are currently seeing in Collins Street being included, that if we didn't step up as elected members, that it would actually occur? I want to know, do we have the substantial, real integrity of data collation?
Yeah, video data.
And I think we might take that one notice. It is a bit of a detailed question, so we'd rather consider that and come back to you.
Final question.
Okay.
I promise.
Yep.
How did, in the 3-month report on the Collins Street trial, how did the officers identify who was a male or female in the users?
Need to take that one on notice, Lord Mayor.
Okay. And in that same report, the 3-month report, where it has male and female, should we not have had non-binary as well? We wouldn't want to be misgendering anyone.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. I'll take that one on notice as well.
Sorry, Lord Mayor, just a very brief question that I thought of as I was listening to the debate. Is it legal or ethical to provide CCTV from a workplace to any organisation, person or body outside of an investigative authority that has the powers for a warrant?
Oh, look, in terms of like CCTV footage from within the organisation, there are, certainly when there are external parties involved, there are privacy concerns that need to be taken into account. That's why we have provisions like right to information, which do provide the framework to assess those issues as part of the overall process as to whether to release the information. So, yeah, so in terms of the appropriateness, so certainly that process is the preferred and best approach to consider it.
Councillor Posselt, sorry.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Does right to information as a legislation consider CCTV?
Councillor Kelly.
Does the CEO need the permission of elected members to refer a potential theft charge to the Director of Local Government, the Integrity Commission and the Mayor?
Any of those actions, no. The CEO wouldn't need the authority of the council to make those.
Thank you.
Deputy Lord Mayor.
Final, just one question. Just under the Local Government Act, when there is an alleged misconduct of an elected member, what's the process?
Well, generally it is either a code of conduct or referral to the Integrity Commission or Ombudsman in some instances, but Integrity Commission where there are where misconduct has occurred.
Thank you.
Does, through you, Chair, to the CEO, does the CEO deal with code of conduct complaints, apart from the processing, a bit of paperwork and doing a referral to the code of conduct panel?
Yeah, beyond that, so there's a statutory role for the CEO in determining whether a code of conduct complaint complies with the legislation, and that's the extent of, in terms of the assessment and dealing with a complaint.
I think
to the CEO.
Sorry?
A question to the CEO. Could you please answer how that would differ, the code of conduct complaint, compared to the alleged theft of council property?
So I guess What you're asking is not necessarily, if there is a theft of council property, wouldn't necessarily be the Integrity Commission. It may well be Tasmania Police or both. So a code of conduct relates specifically to the Local Government Act and the requirements of the code of conduct that have been agreed to by elected members through statute and certainly here through agreement. So it's a bit different in respect of how you deal with it because of the threshold.
Through you, Chair, to the CEO. So it could also be referred to the police, as you've just
Correct.
mentioned. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Elliott, last one, hey?
Yes, the complaint handling policy by the Director of Local Government encourages the Director of Local Government to be the conduit to other bodies. Was that an accidental oversight that the General Manager would refer to those allegations to the Director of Local Government?
That's not necessarily the case. You don't have to refer them to the Director, but that's an option available.
Thank you.
Okay, if that's all the questions, we will now take a motion to move into the closed portion. Moved by Councillor Lohberger, seconded by Councillor Posselt. All those in favour say aye.